This is a quick video response about, or just a reflection about, a video that was released of a Chicago cop who shoots a teen 16 times. And I just saw the video right now and I read the article. This happened last year, I believe, in October 20th in 2014. So over a year ago. And the video shows the teen getting shot, but there's no audio, so you can't really hear what's going on. But you can clearly see that he was gunned down. It said that the teen was walking away with a knife in his hand, but it looked like his left hand was in his pocket, and potentially maybe the officer thought that was a threat. Maybe he thought that maybe the guy had a gun. Um, I don't know, but if it was just a knife, and for him to get shot so many times, it obviously is excessive. The teen was also walking away. The teen was not lunging at any of the officers with the knife. He was just walking away. Um, I read the article. It seems like he might have been on PCP or something, some type of drug, and he was just acting. The call out was like he was someone who was acting erratic. So it was not like a call that said, "Hey, this person has a gun." It just said this person's acting erratic. So he's just walking down the middle of the street. All these cops pull up, surround him, and they said that maybe 5 other cops were on scene as well. Nobody else shot except for this one cop. Shot him 16 times. He fell to the ground. He continued to shoot him over and over again. Um, and then he ended up getting charged with murder. But that took over a year to happen. And the Chicago police was very, they didn't want to release the video. They kept the video from the public. But then through a court order, they forced the video to be released. They were afraid that there was going to be protests and violent protests and things like that. Um, but it's, I think the video and the public protesting puts pressure on the Chicago police to do what's right. If there wasn't the video, and if there wasn't pressure from the, you know, from the citizens, I think they wouldn't have even fired this guy. They definitely wouldn't have charged him with murder. Um, I think they said that they just put him on an administrative leave. They didn't even fire him right away. They put him on administrative leave until they finally charged him with murder. You know, they felt pressure to charge him with murder before the video was released because they knew that if they didn't charge him with murder, there could be some violent protests. But since they already charged him with murder and then they released the video, then it gives less reason for the public to react violently. But clearly, the cop was being extremely excessive with his force. This is way worse than what happened to Rodney King, because at least Rodney King lived. But this person, he's a teenager. He's not even an adult, and he gets shot 16 times. Basically, the whole clip was emptied. Because the clip has 15 rounds, and then there's one in the chamber. So the officer emptied his whole clip into this teenager. And it was just a little knife that he was holding, and he wasn't even walking towards the officers. Now, a lot of these officers they're not well trained. I mean, there's just too many officers, there's too many duties, there's too many things to do. Training costs too much money. Um, they just get a quick run through of the training. It's not adequate, and the officers are not as proficient or intelligent or as, you know, precise and skillful as people might believe. I mean, these people, a lot of times, a lot of them are amateurs in what they do. I mean, if you just look at their fitness, for example, they're not that fit. So physically, if you look at them and they're not representing a high level of fitness, then what makes you think that they're representing intelligence? What makes you think that they actually work on their combative skills? and their ability to, you know, handle these types of situations. If they're going to be lazy with their fitness, then clearly they're also going to be lazy with, you know, the way that they train to handle violent situations. And this is a result of that laziness, you know, where a cop has so many different options to handle a situation. It's not always shoot or don't shoot. You know, it's, you know, they have tasers, a lot of them. They got mace. They got batons. They have multiple officers that can help them take somebody down. You know, they got handcuffs. They got, you know, all sorts of weapons to handle a situation. You know, there was another video from another state where a university cop stopped somebody that was missing his front license plate. And then he stops the car, and the person didn't have his license on him. And then he started driving away, and then officer shoots and, you know, shoots him in the head and kills him because he didn't have a front license plate and because he didn't give him his driver's license. I mean, that is just, I think that officer clearly got charged with murder as well. And this is another instance is where, you know, if this person was a fleeing felon, if this person was just got done killing like a bunch of people, murdering a bunch of people, and then he's running away, then the officer is justified in shooting and killing this person, even if he had to shoot him 16 times, because you're chasing after a murderer. But this teenager, he's not even an adult, he's a teenager. He's just walking with a pocket knife, and the pocket knife is not even, it's not even illegal. People are allowed to carry pocket knives. So he's just walking with a pocket knife, and then all of a sudden he gets shot 16 times. That's like an officer catching you for peeing in the alley, and then he shoots you 16 times because you peed in the alley. You know what I mean? Like, there's all these other officers on scene. There was at least 5 other officers on scene. You're telling me 5 people can't handle one teenager? They can't just tackle this teenager and put handcuffs on him? They couldn't just take out their batons? It would have been better if they would have just, you know, hit him with a baton the way that they hit Rodney King. It would have been better to do that than to shoot and kill him. At least he would have lived. They got mace, and mace is very, very effective. You know, I've got sprayed with mace before when I was in the academy, and it's really, really effective. You know, they could have sprayed him with mace. You know, if these officers were properly trained, they would obviously have known how to handle, you know, this situation with less force. You know, just because somebody has a pocket knife doesn't mean, oh, you know, we could kill him now. You know, luckily there's the camera that shows what happened. If there were no cameras, you couldn't imagine the stories that they would have came up with to hide what they did. Oh, you know, this team was lunging at us with the knife and we had to shoot and kill him, or, you know, they would have all orchestrated a cover-up. And then it would have just been another dead teenager, you know, from a poor family that nobody cares about. Here, then you just have another dead person, and then the family gets nothing. There's no justice. The officer keeps working, doesn't even get laid off, and then he just does it again. You know, and luckily the camera caught everything. The family at least got $5 million. The officer got charged with murder. I mean, because of the camera, justice was served. You know, but without that camera, you know, I would say that, you know, the officer probably would have gotten away with it. And stuff like this would happen, you know, numerous times, you know, before the invention of these cameras. You know, before, you know, something like people filming Rodney King getting beat down, that would happen on a daily basis all over the country. But then there would be no camera to catch that, and then you just got a bunch of black people thrown into jail beat down, and then nothing happens. The corrupted police just keep, you know, they don't get fired, they don't get disciplined, nothing happens to them. But I'm happy to see that there's justice. You know, they charged them with murder, they gave the family $5 million, and they're doing what they can to make the public happy. You know, yes, of course, if they could have, they would have hit it. If they could have, they would not want to pay out $5 million to the family. If they could, they wouldn't fire the officer. If they could, they just sweep it under the rug. But luckily, with the technology, you know, justice was served. But this is just another clear indicator. And then there's other videos in the past where, from another state, you know, you got an officer, you know, these officers show up to like a pool party with a bunch of teenagers, and then they're getting loud, and then all of a sudden an officer starts pulling out a gun and starts pointing it at all the teenagers, and then he like body slams one of these little teenage girls onto the ground. He ended up getting fired, and it was caught on video. This is what I'm talking about, is like, are you really that fearful when you see, you know, black people or whatever, that you're going to pull out your gun, you're going to point your guns at people just because you're so in fear, so much fear? And that's the problem, is like, if you don't have the adequate amount of training, in which these officers don't, they're in constant fear. It's like their automatic response is pull out a gun on every occasion. Pull over a little old lady in a traffic stop. Oh, you know, she might have a gun, so let me pull out my gun and, you know, draw my gun and point at her face because she might have a gun. I mean, this is what happens when it's a fear-based, you know, response. But if you have people that are properly trained, they know how to handle a situation the right way. You know, you got a fleeing felon who just got done, you know, robbing a bank with a gun. Yeah, you could pull out your gun and shoot him, kill him. You got somebody who just murdered an entire family, and he's driving off in his car. Yeah, you could shoot and kill him, you know. But if somebody just, you know, ran a stop sign, you can't just shoot and kill him. You know, if somebody's just missing a front license plate, you can't just shoot and kill him, you know. Just because this teen is walking down the street with a pocket knife doesn't mean that you could just shoot and kill him. You know what I mean? Like, just find another way to handle the situation. That's why they got all these other tools to work with. As I stated, the baton, the mace, the backup. You know, some of them even have tasers. And then they're supposed to be taught, like, defensive tactics, like joint locks, you know, punchings and kicks, and ways of, like, gaining control of an individual, you know, to minimize injury. You know, these officers should not be officers if they're not properly trained. You know, if they're not physically proper, if not they're not trained properly physically, they're not in shape, they don't know how to, they can't even take, 5 officers can't even take down one teenager. They don't even know how to spray mace at this teenager's face. They don't know how to use a baton on the teenager. I mean, there's some serious problems there. You know, when you can't even handle a situation the proper way. You know what I mean? So it just makes all police officers look bad when you got an officer that does something stupid like this. There's another video of an officer from another state who, he pulled over a man, I think for like having a missing headlamp. And then the man starts running away, and then the officer starts shooting him in the back, and it was all caught on camera. Shot him in the back like dozens of times, you know, numerous times. Pretty much killed him, cold blood. And then it was caught on tape. And then I think he got charged with murder too. It's like the stuff. We're very lucky that videos are pretty much exposing these corrupted police, and we need to use that to our advantage to to clean up the police departments in this entire nation. Is they need to be watched. There needs to be body cameras on them. There needs to be cameras in their cars, and people have to get used to filming police officers conducting their duties, because obviously they're not conducting it the way that they should be conducting it. They need to be monitored because they don't know what they're doing. I mean, if these officers are not going to be trained properly, they shouldn't be officers. I mean, really, like shooting somebody 16 times. First off, the person's walking away from you, and then you shoot him and he goes to the ground, and you keep shooting him even more until your clip is done. I'm surprised he didn't throw on his extra clip and start shooting him even more on top of that. Like he's shooting him like it's target practice or something. So, but the mayor and the city's doing what they can to kind of to heal it up as quick as they can, give $5 million to the family, say they're sorry, and basically charge this cop with murder, and brace themselves to brace themselves for these to make to hope that there won't be any violent protests. I mean, it's not easy being a police officer. It really isn't. But certain things is just common sense. You know, like you don't shoot and kill somebody for walking away with a pocket knife. You don't shoot them 16 times either. That's common sense. In these other states, you don't shoot and kill somebody because he's missing a headlamp, and then he chooses to run away from you, and then you shoot and kill him because he ran away from you. And then the whole foundation of the entire stop was because he was missing a headlamp. And then the other officer shoots and kills somebody. This university officer shoots and kills somebody because he stops him because he was missing a front license plate. And then he ends up shooting him in the head, killing him. It's like all these things combined. And the whole thing with the Mike Brown thing, and them choking Eric Garner, and there's a lot of things going on right now where it's just like these officers are just making some really horrible decisions. A lot of just extreme lack of training. I see that. It's just basically laziness. They don't train in combatives. They don't know what they're doing. So everything that they do is to the extreme. Oh, you don't want to listen to me? Okay, then I'm just going to kill you. That's pretty much their mentality. They don't know what to do. Like, you can't just get them in an arm bar. You can't get them in a lock. You can't put a pressure point on them. You can't spray them with mace. You can't hit them with a baton. You can't just put cuffs on them. You can't just converge on them with 3 against 1 and just put cuffs on them. You're just going to shoot and kill him because he won't listen to you or he's talking back to you. You know what I mean? It's very, very disappointing to see that. And cops are supposed to be here to protect us. We have a lot of criminals out there. Just the other day, I read an article and I made a reflection about it. Where there was a cop sitting in his car, and then he got ambushed by like 2 people, and they shot and killed him because they wanted to rob him. So here you got a cop that becomes a victim. And there's criminals out there, you know. And there's another article about a woman, a pastor's wife, who's just at home, she's pregnant, and then these two guys just go in there and execute her. They just shoot her in the head, and then she dies. I mean, there's some crazy criminals out there. To talk about the Paris terrorists, they just go out and start killing everybody. So these are the real threats out there, like these murderers. And if you're not armed yourself, then who's supposed to protect you? The police are supposed to protect you. But if the police are corrupted, like in this instance, this police officer is corrupted, then they become a part of the problem as well. Now you got to worry about the murderers out there, and you got to worry about the corrupted police. So then who's there to protect you if you don't have a gun yourself? And that's the thing where we cut, you know, goes back to what we're talking about the Second Amendment, our right to bear arms, and why it's so important. Because if the police are corrupted and they're not protecting you, and you got a bunch of murderers out there that are out there to get you, then who's going to protect you? You need to protect yourself. You know, and if the police officers are not going to be doing the job right, then there's got to be like martial artists out there or people out there that are highly trained that know how to do the job right. Or not the job, but they know how to handle these violent situations the right way. Or you need to become that individual to protect yourself. You got to become that martial artist to protect yourself. You know, because that's the sad thing. These police officers are supposed to be protecting the civilians that are unarmed from these violent people in this world. Now, if this officer shot one of those Paris terrorists 16 times, that's no problem. Go ahead, shoot him 16 times. Hit him, shoot him 32 times. This guy just got done killing 40 people. Shoot him as many times as you need to shoot him. But a team that is walking away with a pocket knife that's legal, you do not shoot him. You don't even shoot him once. And certainly not 16 times. So this brings up a lot of things that need to be thought about as far as gun control is concerned. You know, keep talking about, oh, you know, how are we going to stop the violence in this world? Oh, there needs to be gun control. Oh, there needs to be gun control, right? But then the corrupted police still have guns. So why can't the good people have guns? Well, you're going to stop the good people from getting guns and then let the corrupted police shoot and kill teenagers that have pocket knives? You know, what needs to be fixed is not about gun control. It's about corruption. How do we fix corruption in the police departments? How do we fix corruption within the human being, which drives him to want to commit crimes, to commit violent crimes against people? We need to fix that. And that's all I gotta say.